All right, y'all. And we are live. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. We are live, y'all. What is up? What is up? I am back for another episode of our birth stories, which Monday was our very first live. And it was so exciting because we got to talk to Miss B, who is the founder of the Institute of Optimal Health and Aesthetics. And so she was our first guest, but today we back for our second installation or our second episode of our birth stories. Now, just a little backstory before I bring up or introduce our next guest. I started our birth stories just to be honest with y'all on a whim because I always been wanting to do it, just never really set aside the time and never necessarily fully thought out how it was going to be done. But this was something that I absolutely wanted to do for a really long time and really just have women share their birth stories, talk about their experience with pregnancy and even motherhood, right? I mean, mainly pregnancy, right? Because um, we see so many disparities when it comes to Black women and, family planning, pregnancy, childbirth, motherhood. Like, it's so many different disparities and so many things that, we see as challenges, especially as Black women. And so, even in my own personal experience with pregnancy and childbirth. And so, over the years, I've done tons of advocacy work. This week is Black Maternal Health Week. So, this was like the perfect time to be able to launch something like this. And I'm kind of glad, like, that I did it now. Like, even though it was on a whim, I was like, just do it because I had been putting it off long enough. And especially after I had been a founding member of the Preeclampsia Foundation's Take 10 for Preeclampsia campaign, where we kind of just focused on Black women sharing their stories, Black women, and really driving and encouraging Black women to register for the preeclampsia registry so we can gather more information specifically from Black women so that we can do more research. We can get more data and statistics around why we face so many disparities and we can do something about it. So this is just like my little contribution to Black Maternal Health Week, but also my contribution to us as a community. And so I'm excited. Like, as soon as I put it on Facebook, I got a flood of women just saying, I want to share my story. Some people not really sure if they want to, but this is a safe space. So that's the main thing I want everybody to know. Like, it's a safe space for us to talk just openly and freely, share our stories, and really just connect with each other around these topics because it's important. And that was one of the things I definitely noticed in our community is that we don't talk about it enough. And so that was another driving force or motivation behind me wanting to share these stories because it absolutely is a way for us to create legacy and start building that. And so, speaking of legacy, I'm so glad that I have my girl here, Joy Renique. So she is our guest for episode number 2. I can go on and just tell a whole lot of stories about how we met and how we, got to this point. But she was one of the first people to say, like, I want to do this. And so I'm so glad to have her because, at the end of the day gonna end. That's what Glorilla said, but we ain't gonna go there right now. I'm gonna stay focused, right? But it's important that I bring people on who not only want to be open and candid about their stories, but share with a purpose. And so she is the founder of Celebrate Legacy. I'm gonna bring her in so she can just kind of tell us more about what she does. And I always want to give people a platform to just promote what they're doing in the community because we all show up in our own ways and it's all important. So I am going to add her in so she can go ahead and we can get started with this conversation. This is a lunchtime chat. I purposely wanted it to be for lunchtime, like around lunchtime, so that you can just take a break from work or whatever you're doing, or you could just tune in at a later time. We're streaming on all platforms, well, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So if you can't catch it live, you can absolutely catch the replay on any of those platforms. So I'm going to bring her in, let her introduce herself, and then we'll go ahead and get the conversation started.
Hello, hello,
Hey, Joy.
this is my first time as a guest on StreamYard. I'm usually the one as the host, So I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this setup. I'm trying to figure out how to share it to my page because I know some people on my side want to see it. I went to your Facebook page and I'm not
It's
seeing it
not there.
right away.
Try to
Maybe
refresh and
you
see
do.
if it show up.
You said, yeah, that's what I try. I'm on your page now. I
Mm.
just want to make sure everybody's seeing it. It says we're live, but
Yeah,
I wanted to share
girl,
it.
let me tell you, this my first time even. I just signed up for StreamYard on Monday. So I'm like literally still learning the ins and outs of how it works.
Okay.
So I don't know. Let's see. I want to say, let me see if it's on there now. Because I don't
If
know.
you're watching, leave us a comment
Yes,
because
please leave us a
yeah,
comment.
because we definitely want to engage with you guys. I have a lot of good information I want to
Absolutely.
share. I have four
Absolutely.
kids, so I went and birthed
Ooh,
4 times, and
yeah.
each was individual, each was different. Everybody says that each pregnancy is
Hmm.
different, but I have my share of joys and horrors
Hmm.
that I
Hmm.
want to put out there because you're right, we don't talk about this enough. I personally didn't really walk with anybody in their birth story before I had my own children. So it was just,
Hmm.
me winging it.
Yes. Joy is on my page. So see if you can share it now. I see it live from my end. So see if you can share it on your page.
I don't know. I think because I'm using this, I'll share it
Oh,
after it's
that's
over because
probably
I was
why.
trying to share it. Let me try it from my phone, but go ahead. I'm ready. I'm here and I'm
Oh, yeah.
excited.
So first, before we get started with anything, I want you to share what Celebrate Legacy is. I want to talk a little bit about that, what got you started, what's the purpose of it, so everybody can know where you are and what you do.
All right. So celebrate legacy. I have my journal here. It is a journal
Should have brought
for
mine.
life
Oh, hold
experience.
on. Go ahead. Let me.
I think I'll get yours. Celebrate Legacy is a journal for life's experiences to share with loved ones and future generations. Yay! You got yours in that beautiful gray.
I
Yes,
don't know
yes,
what kind of,
yes.
but yes.
And so what I do is I help people to share their story. I think that is too often. So what inspired it was I had to do an interview when I was in college, and it was supposed to be about an elderly person. I chose my aunt because I thought I knew enough about her, but once I finished the interview, I learned so much stuff that I would have never known, that it made me realize like we have people close to us, people that we have access to that have resources, experiences that they don't, I'm not going to wear I had a miscarriage on my forehead, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have a badge of honor to show all of the experiences that I went through. And I'm so thankful for you because you do a good job. I would have never known anything about preeclampsia if it wasn't for you. Tia,
Mm-hmm.
literally, we don't necessarily shout at the mountaintops about these experiences, but I'm so happy that now it's becoming more popular. But I always advocate for writing it down.
Yes.
Don't just talk about it. Don't just listen to it. Please,
Mm-hmm.
please, please write down your takeaways, write down your experiences. You never know how you can come back and revisit that and how that might bless you later. So that is like in a
Yes.
nutshell what the most invaluable thing about Celebrate Legacy is. It helps you to write things down. It gives you prompts and accountability so that you're not only paying attention, but that you're able to process.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things I love about Celebrate Legacy and you, because I think we kind of connected originally just off of writing like Facebook posts and commenting and just kind of chatting like that. And so I always knew like you was like this exceptional writer and storyteller and and a good conversationalist too, because that's how we met, just having conversations about different things, regardless of how young we was at the time. It all played a part to where we are now. And so I'm glad about Celebrate Legacy. As you see, I got my journal. I used to be into writing and reading so much before, life just get busy, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so you have a lot of thoughts, you have a lot of experiences, but we don't take time to sit down and write about it. And so, when I talk about creating legacy, like we can do that in so many ways. So writing is absolutely one of those things where we can pass down to our children and they can have an idea of the experiences we went through, because they tend to see some of the same things and never know if we don't verbalize it to them. They can take these journals and take these writings and they can have an idea for themselves. So I appreciate you and, just what you bring to this space, but not only this space, but just to our communities in general, especially when I love the whole grief series you did. Like that was amazing. So all of these things, that's another taboo thing that we don't talk about. Like it's so many things in our community that we just really don't talk about. So you're in the space just doing what need to be done so that we can just start opening up and we can just normalize having conversations, period. People don't even talk no more. We are just on social media and doing what we do. Like we don't even talk no more. So this is absolutely necessary. So I'm glad I got you here on the line so we can just chop it up a little bit about your birth story, but also just kind of get more information about the history behind how we show up and how people have shown up, especially in your life as it pertains to pregnancy and childbirth and motherhood and all of those things. So I do have some questions I want to ask, and then we'll go into your birth story. So the first thing I want to know is, what was your experience growing up and like hearing stories about pregnancy or conceiving, or what was your experience with hearing stories about motherhood? Like, did you have anybody talking to you about what those experiences were like?
No, nothing,
Mhm.
zero. And it's so crazy because I really thought this was a perfect opportunity to really talk about how we met. I want to keep the drama out of it, but I definitely want to really let you guys know it was a little, sketch. And so I'm gonna put a disclaimer out. What I'm about to say, like, I don't want no smoke. I'm not coming here to like to say what's fact, what's fiction. I'm just sharing my
Mhm.
experience. But so the best way to say it is my ex was dating someone and she was like in an all-out Facebook war with me on
Mhm.
online. It was based off of notes and writing. We had Tia and I have a mutual friend that wrote a note and she basically attacked me. And again, I'm not here to like rehash
Mhm.
anything. She and I have no issues today and I don't want any issues, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is that she was pregnant. And
Mhm.
that was my first time engaging. Like I remember cringe now, making a statement was like, if this is what pregnancy is all about, I don't want no parts.
Mhm.
Because what I didn't know at the time, or I didn't know enough about, is the emotional, mental, anguish that you go through when you're pregnant. Not to mention having to deal with your partner and impossible, like what's going on. Everybody's trying to figure out,
Mhm.
was there infidelity? And I was like, this is my ex. I'm not even talking to him. Like I
Mhm.
kept trying to like tell people that I was not trying to bother her, but because it turned out into this now. Back then I was in college. I had a lot of time on my hands. I felt attacked, and so I all I could do is just try to figure out how to control the narrative. But if we're
Mhm.
talking about pregnancy, it's never in a million years today I would do anything like that. I don't care how much she tried to attack me. I could not engage with a pregnant person on that way because I know too much about it. And
Yeah.
so I say that to say, I had my first child when I was 24, almost 25 years old. I remember thinking to myself after I had my child, I have a sister that is, I have a sister she had twins at 19. And I was
Mhm.
like, how in the world did she do that? I'm 24 and it's too early. Like, I'm not ready. I was
Mhm.
already a college graduate, but I was not ready. Not that you're ever really ready,
Yeah.
but I definitely wasn't really mature enough. I wasn't prepared. And so I say, like, I kind of want to apologize a little bit for that younger version of me. And if you're watching this, if you're younger, like in your early 20s, like I was, and you're trying to figure this out, I'm telling you right now, don't bring the drama to the internet. Like you need to be in a yin
Mhm.
state. You need
Mhm.
to be at peace. You need to be
Yep.
getting yourself together. It's
Yep.
so much more important things that you could be doing with your time than arguing and fussing with somebody else, whether it's the internet or not. But don't even bring that spirit into your life because that was my first dealings with a pregnant person was drama on the internet.
And I just want to be clear, I wasn't that pregnant person. It wasn't me. But I don't know. I guess I came into the mix. I don't even know. I
You were
can't.
just trying to figure it out. It was really random, and we could talk about it in the comments
But
what
yeah.
happened. But it was
But
crazy. It
yeah.
was so crazy. But I say that to say, so when I was doing research for this live, it said that one out of every five women, how you say that, they
Women.
they experience mental health issues during pregnancy. So we
Mm,
talk a lot about the physical part
yep.
of it, but it's harder to really talk about the mental health. And then it said, but 3 out of every 5 Black women
Yep.
experience mental health issues.
Yep. And you
And
see the
that just
age
gave
going
me
up.
chills.
Yep.
It gave me
Yep.
chills because it's like,
Mhm.
why isn't this common knowledge, and why aren't we taking this into consideration when we're engaging with people during their
Yeah.
pregnancy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's it, that's the thing. We grow up and we become more wise as we have our own experiences, but also as we learn more about other people, right? And so, even if a person didn't have kids at by the way, I got pregnant at 24 and had Aya at 24 too. So, when I was 19 and of course I had family members and friends who had babies earlier, and I just didn't understand. As far as I remember, like I didn't even want kids, to be honest with you. Like this was, when I was young growing up, I never had any thoughts about me having a kid. Like it just wasn't a thought. And so, of course, we don't put two and two together about how being pregnant is a total body spirit experience. It's not just this isolated thing. So, you know, I like that you said that, just speaking to your younger self, like if you had a chance to
Mhm.
do it over again, absolutely you would do things differently. But now that we're here and you have your own experiences, we definitely can speak to that you know, and give advice to those young girls, like you said, growing up or, who are around that age who just don't know, you know what I mean? And be that person that we didn't have. Cause like you said, nobody really talked to you about childbirth or anything. So we get to be those people. So I'm glad that we are those people.
Right, right.
Yes. So going back to the question, like, did you have any experiences like maybe from your mom, grandmother, aunts, or anybody who was able to just kind of give you any information about what it was like giving birth, what it's like being pregnant? Like, did you have any reference at all?
If I did, I did. I don't remember. Like I was serious when I said no. But what I did, so when I got pregnant, there was a pregnancy resource center, literally walking distance from
Mm,
the apartment complex that I was living in. I remember when it was first built, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then when I became pregnant, I was like, "Well, I'm definitely gonna go there." And
mhm,
I got ultrasounds there. I got baby clothes there. I took classes, and they have like a whole series. So you go once a week, and then you earn like little baby bucks, and then you could go and get brand new things. They
mm,
have like this really big holiday party where like a church adopts a pregnant person, and
mhm.
they get you everything that you put on your wish list, or if you don't have a wish list, they just randomly gift you with diapers and things like that.
Right.
But that was literally, it wasn't, I didn't look for it. I didn't know that those type of places existed. It was like God's way of like preparing me.
Mhm,
And everything I learned was like research based. It's different what's research based because we know who they're doing the research on. But at least
mhm.
I had some type of foundation, learning about SIDS and learning about certain things that, again, unless I go and ask a question or I put it in the Google, I won't
Mhm.
really understand the seriousness of it. So that was like the probably the foundation of my information, is going to that pregnancy resource center. And then maybe after I learned something, I could ask around, hey, you heard of this?
Mhm.
Hey, what do you think about this? And then I'll pay attention, because once you learn something new, you start seeing it everywhere. I
Uh-huh.
hear somebody talk about preeclampsia. Now everybody's talking about preeclampsia.
Mhm.
Before, I never heard of it, but it's like our brain pays attention to stuff when it's
Yeah.
relevant to us. So
Uh-huh.
maybe I've heard of it before, but I didn't remember it until I got pregnant, and I really remember just feeling like I don't know what I'm doing.
Like most of us. So that kind of leads me to my next question. So if we didn't have any references to what pregnancy and childbirth was like, what was your expectation when you did get pregnant? Like, what did you think?
So, I really kind of just went with the flow. Like, I didn't have, so, the first thing was to find the OB.
Mhm.
And the crazy part is I was living in Georgia. So it wasn't like I could just ask my peers who are all live in Miami, hey, what doctor did you go to? I want
Mhm.
to go to Dr. Hannah. I want to go to Dr. Such and such, what I hear everybody talking about in Miami. I had to start from scratch. And
Yeah.
so, and then I'm thankful that my husband, well, he wasn't my husband at the time, obviously, but the I'm thankful that he was really there with me every step on the way. I'm an only child, but he has siblings. He's been in positions where he's helped some of his friends with their babies. Like none of my friends had babies.
Oh.
So he had a little bit more experience than I did. And I don't know, I think I'm intelligent enough to kind of just take it as it came in. But
Hmm.
I didn't have like a really big expectation. It was just what I would say is I really didn't know it was as hard. I knew it was hard, but it's even harder than you can imagine
Hmm.
when you don't know what you're doing. And it's even worse if you don't have the support that you need. And
Hmm.
I had some support. I won't never say that I didn't, but it's different when you're in a different city and you're really trying to bear roots and start from scratch, because then we talk about daycares and all those other things. Like I had to figure all of that out on my own.
Yeah, got you, got you. And I'm glad you had a support system too, because that's another thing that we don't talk about enough is how important it is to have a support system, even if it's not friends and family, but just connecting with other individuals who like other birthing centers or like joining certain clubs or things like that, where, at least you have somebody who can assist you, even if it's just giving you motivation or giving you a frame of reference or something, but just having that support system in place that you can tap into, just to kind of make the journey a little bit easier. So, I do want to talk about if you planned your pregnancy and what that whole process was like for conception. And not only did you plan your pregnancy, but you can like just tell us about your pregnancy journey. And you can start from baby one and go through four, or just kind of however you want to do it. But I definitely want to know if you had a plan in place for the first pregnancy.
So let me break it down. Because the answer is no.
Raw.
Literally. So my kids right now are by the summer. I like to do it in the summertime because that's the easiest. By the summertime, they'll be 11, 9, 7, and 5. Right?
Okay.
Every
Hmm.
other year, kind of. And they literally just asked me. I don't know what made them ask me, but my oldest, my 11-year-old, asked me, was a Mora planned? I don't know where he got that question from. So I was
Ooh.
like, none of y'all was planned. And he was like, but were you the most surprised about a Mora? And I was like, no.
You want to figure it out, okay? That's
So
good.
so I met my husband in October of 2011. Just graduated from college. We found out we were pregnant September 2012.
Well, okay.
So we didn't even know each other for a whole year. When we conceived, we were not living in the same state. We were
Mm.
living in two different states. And so no, it was not planned. I was still trying to figure out how, like I didn't have like a job. Like we were really just trying to figure out our next step.
Hmm.
And we was excited. I remember when I thought I was pregnant, I missed my cycle. And it's so crazy because I met his mom the day before I took the pregnancy test. So I even know I was pregnant meeting
Oh
his
my
mom.
goodness.
So imagine the next time she saw me, it's like, oh, and by the way,
Oh, that's a story within itself.
right. So I took the pregnancy test. We both, like, I turned over with him there. So we both found out at the exact same time. We like laughed, we just giggle like little kids. It was special and we was excited, even though we really didn't have any plan. The only thing that I asked of him is that by the time of the baby shower that we had our own apartment to put all the things in so
Hmm.
that we had time to kind of get settled before the baby. And he made it happen. We got an apartment. I still wasn't working. And we had our baby shower in Miami. We tried to ask for a lot of gift cards and stuff, but we got a lot of stuff and we hauled all that stuff back to Georgia. Um, and I literally went to the health department to get birth control, and they told me, "No, ma'am, you're already pregnant."
What? Wow.
So by his first birthday, I was showing. Like by my son's first birthday, I was already pregnant. Showing his birthday is in May, and I had her in October, less
Wow.
than 6 months later.
What is it that they call when you like a year apart? I forget some kind of
Yeah,
twist.
like something about twins. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know
Okay.
what you're talking about.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So how you
So
deal with
obviously
that?
it wasn't expected because I'm trying to be on birth control, right? But I
Mhm.
was only trying to be on birth control to be responsible. It wasn't like
Yeah.
I didn't want more kids. It was like I was trying to get used to the first kid.
Mhm.
But again, he was there. He was in the parking lot when I was inside to the health department. So I came back in the car. I was like, "Well," he was like, "You got him." And I was like, "No," and
But
"What happened?" I just looked at him. He's like, "You pregnant?" And
oh
so,
my God.
but here's something important that I want to share as opposed to those two. So with the first pregnancy, I heard y'all talking about it on Monday about a dream, like what would a dream pregnancy look like,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it was me reflecting, getting ready for today, that I realized like I had my version of a dream pregnancy and I didn't realize it at the time because again,
Mhm.
I didn't have a job, we wasn't married, we wasn't like we didn't sit there and plan and
Yeah.
have a nursery and paint the walls. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't any of that. So I didn't know at the time that I was living a dream. Because let me tell you
Yeah.
something, my boyfriend went to every single doctor's appointment. He was
Mhm.
there for even though he didn't live in my same state at first. He came, moved to where I was. We got our apartment. But the issue was, so we found this African lady named Dr. Sonyika. Love her to death. But we would spend millions of hours in her waiting room for those appointments. Like we
Mhm.
spent so much time that we switched doctors for my second baby. He had a coworker, his coworker wife just had a baby, and we went to her doctor. Well, I was used to Sonyika. That's all I knew about.
Mhm.
Sonyika delivered all her babies. She got a big old wall full of all the babies she delivered in her office, like very, very like comfortable.
Mhm.
Well, this other doctor's office, I saw the midwife the whole time. And I had a C-section, so I wanted to have a VBAC. It was really important to me. I was devastated that I had to have an emergency C-section the first time. And I made it clear when I came in there, I want a VBAC. And
Mhm.
so I ended up going into labor, and the midwife was on vacation.
oh my goodness.
And I had never met nobody else. So I didn't know. So the person who delivered me, that was my first time meeting her at the
Mhm.
hospital. And I was so upset because I was like, if this was a possibility, then y'all should have
Right.
prepared me for this.
Mhm.
And me and my husband, we even take a picture with the doctor after it was over. We went back to San Lucia for baby 3 and baby 4. And we
Uh-huh.
got a picture with
Oh
her
yeah,
each
we
time.
going back. We going back.
Wait,
That's
and
real though. That is absolutely real. And I want to share something before you move on
okay.
really quick because a lot of times we'll think about or we won't even how many people take part in their birthing plan to say like I want a VBAC, right? If you had a C-section your first pregnancy and then you have excuse me, you have another pregnancy afterwards, like how many people know to even advocate for that instead of just allowing a doctor to say, well, this is what you're going to do, this is what it's going to look like. You don't know. So for you to even advocate for yourself to say like I'm adamant about this is how I want it, like that is like the expectation is that I have this type of pregnancy. And I think we kind of talked about that on Monday too when she was just saying like, I had all of this stuff laid out, like this is my expectation, it's going to happen, and it happened. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to point that out real quick, but go ahead.
No, that was important because I should have put it in writing. So birth
Mm,
plan, get a birth plan. Absolutely, that's important. I should have gotten it writing because what happened is I don't want to say the doctor's name because I'm about to tell you what happened next with this doctor.
mm,
Um, she came in there, looked at my chart, saw I had a C-section. She said, "Oh, so you're having a C-section?" I said, "No, I'm not." And so the first pregnancy, I didn't even have an epidural. I 100% went cold clean because I wanted to have natural everything. So I
mm-hmm.
was in labor for like 27 hours with my first pregnancy until I had a emergency C-section.
Wow.
And for the second pregnancy, I can't remember if I still went without the epidural. I feel like I did because I felt like I just wanted to be as natural as I could. But she came in there, she looked at my chart, and she had already had her mind made up from jump.
Mm,
She was not going to be delivering me naturally. So it gave off the impression that she was just waiting until she could give me an excuse, like, oh, the baby's blood pressure is high, like some little thing to
mm,
panic me to force my hand into getting a C-section.
Mm.
And now this was all the way in 2014. This doctor has now been sued and actually, what's the word, charged, because in Georgia she decapacitated a baby's head when she
No.
took it out naturally. So
What?
when I saw, I was like, that was the doctor that delivered Raina. Like, I was posting it and people, nobody really commented, but like that was so scary to me, because in my mind it's like, do she know how to deliver babies naturally? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
that could have been me.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so close to home,
Oh
and
my
it was
goodness.
just so scary. So even though that wasn't my experience, and again, I only know the story. I only know the story based off of the news reports. I don't know the family personally. So I don't want to say I know what happened. I just know that
Right.
they went through the process and they charged her. She's
Mm.
charged criminally for this
Wow.
because of the neglect and how they handled that situation. And so that was like a trauma by itself, because me and my husband was really like upset about how she handled us.
Mm-hmm.
And now it makes me think like, is that like, it makes you think like, is that really why? And that was 2014. This is
Yeah.
almost 10 years later. Well, this is 2024. This is 10 years
10 years
later.
later. Yeah. Yeah. And when you really think about it, not that long ago, but when I think back to 2014, just in general, there was still a lot of stuff we didn't know and didn't talk about at that time. Even 10 years ago, even though that sound like it's not a long time ago, but you know, wow, like that's wow.
So I wanted to definitely get that a part of this live, because that was like a unique experience for me
Hmm.
that you don't hear all the time. But it was literally that one, how she handled us at the hospital is what made me go back to my original doctor. And I just
Hmm.
told her, I said, look, I'm not gonna be in this office for hours. I got a job now. Like, I got things to do. And she handled me way better the third and the fourth time. But
Good.
now me and my husband got married in 2015. So we had a baby 2013, had another baby 2014, got married 2015. And
Okay.
then we had our wedding September of 2016. Well,
Okay.
I'm over here trying to get fined for my wedding. I learned from the first time I had a 10-year IUD. I didn't even ask for the 2 years. They ran out of 5 years, and I was like, well, you're gonna have to give me something, because I'm not playing. I had a 10-year
Girl, you had a
IUD.
plan, girl.
I had a 10-year IUD. I didn't get the one that had the hormones because I breastfed and they said it could affect me being able to
Okay.
breastfeed. So I
Hmm.
didn't get the one with the hormones, but it was supposed to last for 10 years. I went on my bachelorette trip in like the summer, was like crazy. I got real, had a lot of
Hmm.
fun on
We
my
had fun.
bachelorette
We had
trip.
fun, and we're gonna leave it at
And
that.
and I was just so tired. So I went to the doctor's office and I'm like, I'm just so tired. I'm always tired. And they was like, well, you're pregnant.
Girl.
And
Girl.
so I'm like, okay. And so, we announced the pregnancy at the wedding, but just to give you like a backstory, like we were just like that was the most unplanned, right? Because
Hmm.
we thought we had been responsible, we did everything right, we getting married, trying to move
Hmm.
forward with our two kids, one boy, one girl, all of the things. So we kind of like that took a hit because we had to wrap our mind around it.
Hmm.
And what scared me the most is that there's a small window that you have to remove the IUD where it's still safe for the baby. So
Ah.
I remember that day having to go in to get it removed, and I was like scared out of my mind because I could get a miscarriage, I
Mm.
could hurt the baby, I could be hurt. Like, it was so scary for
Hmm.
me. And it went smoothly. It was no issue. I still was nervous throughout the whole pregnancy because sometimes something can happen and they don't know until the baby is born. So I'm like, I hope my baby don't have any birth defects. Like, it was a very stressful thing for me. Um, and so I had him. He was healthy, no issues with him. Um, but because I was so scared, I didn't have a plan for birth control moving forward, because
Mm.
I felt like if God want me to have a baby, I'm gonna have a baby. I
Yeah.
thought I went to the first one, they said no, you can't get no birth control. I got the birth control. Like, I just felt like trapped. Like,
Yeah.
what do I do? And I was scared to get my tubes tied because I was like, what if I get pregnant with my tubes tied? That's still a
Yeah.
possibility.
Yep.
So it was really really scary. And then I got pregnant again with my last baby, and so it was that was like a really dark time. And the crazy part is, I wasn't diagnosed, but I'm quite sure I had perinatal depression. Quite
Mm.
sure.
Ooh, we talked about that
Quite
on
sure.
Monday too.
It wasn't. It was. Everybody talks about postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody talks about perinatal depression. And
Mm.
so I was researching them because so let me describe to you what that feels like, because I never you know how people say, oh, people are depressed, that's a choice,
Yeah.
or people kind of really don't really can't wrap their mind around depression. And so for somebody that have experienced it, it's another version of compassion that I have with people who are depressed, because it's not a choice.
Yeah.
And so what would happen is something would trigger it. Like I would get upset about something. It could be big or small. But whatever triggered it, it'll be over. Like the problem will be resolved, but the sadness that I would would like feel like it just happened fresh, no
Mm.
matter how much time. And luckily for me, my depression episodes didn't last more than like 2 or 3 days. But for those 2 or 3 days, I was like just crying uncontrollably. I couldn't really function. Like all of the symptoms, like I didn't enjoy regular activities. And then on top of that, I was being bullied at work. So I had a lot going on during that pregnancy, that I don't know, people watching this, how many people who knew me personally really knew that at the time.
Mm.
This is not like public knowledge. I've said it before, and I'm not scared. Like I'm not ashamed, or I haven't hidden the information. But again, it's not something that I wear on my forehead or that
Right.
I talk about just in general conversation. But it was really heavy. That last pregnancy took a big toll on our relationship, because um, it was like my husband explained it like it's like you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then it's like the light keep getting pushed back and back with
Mm.
each
Yeah.
pregnancy.
Yeah.
We hadn't had a chance to really be a couple before we had our children. We couldn't travel. My husband is like super super overprotective of our kids, so they're always with us at all times. Even my mom could count on two hands how many times she's had the kids overnight.
Mm.
Um, and so it was me and him with the kids all the time. And that just was a lot. Like this
Yeah.
probably the first summer I'm gonna be outside in 11 years.
Not be outside. Oh, listen, mama got to have a life too. That's
In
but
11 years,
yeah.
because now that my youngest is 5, I have a little bit of leeway to be able to
Mm.
have some freedom and find out who I am outside of a mom and all of those
Absolutely.
things. But that's the majority. Is one more important thing that happened, but I know you have some more questions. I don't know if you want me to get into the last thing, because
Go
I haven't been
ahead.
to sleep. Okay, so for Amora, I had a slip and fall right after I took my maternity pictures, which was like a month before delivery. And I had like a groin injury. And when I say the pain, like
Ooh,
I went to the ER. Like I kept trying I had so many ultrasounds trying to make sure the baby was okay. Because when I say the pain, you know how they give you that pain chart 1 to 10, it was like a 15.
wow.
I remember standing in the kitchen, and my husband couldn't just pick me up and carry me, because how he held me was painful. So
Wow.
I was just standing there like, don't touch me. Let me
Mm.
figure out how to do it. And he would have to like gently hold me to get me to certain places. That's how bad the pain was.
So let
And
me clarify real quick. So Amora is baby number 2.
four,
Oh,
the
4.
last
Okay,
one.
got you. All right. And the slip and fall happened, but did you have to go like to the ER, or was there like a
So they kept saying we don't see nothing. It's no injury. So it must have been like a muscle injury as opposed to any other physical injury, because the ultrasound, the X-rays, all of those, they don't try to X-ray you too much when you're pregnant because of the
yeah.
rays and stuff. So they did one X-ray. They kept trying to keep an eye on me, and they had multiple ultrasounds, but it was so bad that when it was time for me to get a C-section, because at that point I have to get a C-section, it's 4 C-sections now, the doctor put the epidural in and it didn't take. They were trying to butterfly my legs, and they couldn't even bend my knees because I was in so much pain that they ended up having to put me to sleep. And so when I say, and I have a blog that I wrote about this, But the part that stands out the most is in my adult life, I had never been more scared. Like when they put the mask on you, first of all, everything is happening so fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that my husband hadn't even entered the room. So they put him on, he got to put on all the clothes and all that. So he was out there getting ready, thinking that they was going to do the epidural was going to be like all the other 3
Mm-hmm.
C-sections that we already had. Well, once they made the decision that I was going anesthesia, he wasn't going to be in the room anymore. So I was like, y'all not about to put me in sleep and my husband not going to be here to pay attention to what y'all doing. Like that was just not happening. And so I was fighting the anesthesia, was saying, "Where is Brian? Where is Brian?" My voice felt so small. Like I felt like I was talking into an empty room. And I just saw trapezoids and all, like it was like I couldn't even see straight, but I was trying to stay awake. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until he came, they finally let him in and I heard his voice. I didn't even see him. I just heard his voice and I was just crying and I was scared. And I just remember like that was what soothed me, knowing that he was there. Because one thing about my husband, if something going wrong, he gonna be paying attention. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew that now that I can't speak for myself, I'm,
Yeah.
unconscious, that
Mm-hmm.
somebody was going to be advocating for me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all I needed before I could go to sleep. But I was fighting that anesthesia.
Look,
It
it's
was
crazy how
so
strong you can get in those moments. Like that is so serious. And having that support system and somebody to advocate on your behalf. Because I know, like, a lot of times we don't even talk about that enough, how important it is to have somebody there. I don't care if it's your husband, your spouse, your significant other, your parent, friend, whoever, like
a
somebody
doula. Get a
present, a
doula.
doula, yeah, a doula. You need to have somebody to, because it's such a vulnerable time. Like you don't know what can happen, even if you have a natural birth. Like you still need to have somebody who can be present and advocate for you and see what's going on. You know what I mean? So that was good. Oh my God, that's. I've never heard of anybody having any kind of surgery while they were pregnant or like having, you know what I'm saying? Like those are other things that we just don't speak about. Like, yeah, there are other things that we deal with even during pregnancy, even, you know what I mean? So just to even hear like that happened is like, it's mind blowing to me.
Right.
So, wow.
So it's a lot.
Okay.
I got a lot of kids, but I had a lot
That's
going
over.
on.
That's okay. That is absolutely okay, girl. Listen, my grandma had 10, so listen, that's okay. So tell me about if you knew then what you know now, like would you change anything about any of your experiences? Would you do anything differently? And I know I've heard like a couple of the things you did different, like go back to your old doctor, like some of those things. So is there anything that you would do different now?
In a perfect world, I'm not as strong as I was in the beginning about being married before you have kids, but it's the reason why people say the word marriage, because that the commitment level of a marriage is
Mhm,
what is why it's not just the status, it's
mhm,
not just because I can show off I got a ring. It's
mhm.
the fact that you have somebody that is obligated and committed to you and your baby. So I just so that I had somebody, I married my baby daddy, like I had that, but I wish that we were able to be, together for 2 or 3 years
Mhm.
and have our own relationship before we became parents. That's definitely, if I could change it. Everything happened. I wouldn't change it because you know how that
Yeah.
butterfly effect situation goes. But in a perfect world, if I give advice to people, getting the good thing about it is because we had a lot of downtime, we knew a lot. Like we don't bump heads a lot about our parenting styles now because we talked a lot about those things in the
Right.
beginning. So it wasn't like it was a stranger. I
Right.
knew who I was having a baby by. I will admit though, as fast as I kept getting pregnant, it's like sometimes people aren't the same when you're talking about hypotheticals as when
Mhm.
it's time to put those things into practice. And
Yep.
so me getting pregnant back to back like that, I remember after my daughter, I was like, I hope this man here been marry me because I got 2 babies.
Yep. Yep.
And so I mean it to say like, so that's so important. Now that's the number one on the list. Number two is like you said, have a birth plan in writing because that's like a contract. And I think hospitals are scared of those things because if they
Mm-hmm.
don't follow your birth plan, you can hold them accountable for that. They have to really
Mm-hmm.
justify. They can't just BS you and tell you anything. They
Right.
have to show this was the emergency why we had to go this route. And
Right.
so I would have it in writing, and I would have a doula because no matter how much, like I said, I used to go every week to the Pregnancy Resource Center, and I knew a little bit more than most people who just go to work. And I didn't have no job, so I was like able to go and do certain things, but it's not the same as somebody who has a college degree. Like some of
Right.
these doulas be nurses, even if they don't have a college degree. Some of these people like have families where their mom and their grandma and their great grandma have been delivering babies since the beginning of time, and they
Mm-hmm.
have that innate skill set where they're
Mm-hmm.
able to help you and navigate this system. Because the healthcare, I don't watch so many documentaries about breast milk and about all of these things that it's so much information out there, and it
Yep.
changes so much. Like you said, 10 years ago, it's a lot of stuff that has changed. Laws,
Yep.
we
Yep.
didn't even get to talk about the abortion law and
Yep.
all of those things that's happening. I haven't had any abortions, but I'm very much pro-choice. I think
Mm-hmm.
women should have control of their bodies, and that
Absolutely.
was scary to me that came out. I was like, I'm glad I'm done having kids because I wish somebody would tell me if
Yep.
I don't want to have a baby, I can't have it. I gotta have the baby. If my
Yeah.
baby is absolutely gonna be have some issues, I still
Right.
got to have this baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's more than just I don't want the baby. I'm being responsible. I'm using abortion as
Right.
birth control. It's way more than that. It's some
Yep.
health. Sometimes my health, I might die, and you telling me you
Exactly.
choosing this baby over me. Who gonna take care of the baby if I die?
Exactly, exactly. Like that's a whole other thing, right? That we kind of exclude. And so, and I don't want to get too much into it because I don't even, girl, I don't even know all the particulars about the law specifically. And if it does state like in case of any, you know, emergency health issues or whatever the case is. But if that's not even really taken into consideration a lot of times, like, you know, especially if you've had births before and you already know the risk, or you know that there is a chance that this can be a high risk pregnancy. Your life is at stake, the baby life is at stake. How can somebody else determine your fate? Like, and that's crazy. Absolutely. So I totally agree with you on it.
So those are like my top three things. I didn't have a doula. I didn't have a birth plan. I wasn't married when I got pregnant the first time or the second
Mm-hmm.
time. And so those are things that I would change, but because I understand the value of it, I don't judge anybody, obviously, because then I would have
Right.
to work on my own self in my reflection. Things happen, and I understand things happen. Life happens, but I think that we really, and the only other thing is I just want to better prepare my children.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that they understand. Like, I think when my kids go of age, they're going to be volunteering in nurseries and daycares and stuff, so they can actually see what it's like to be a parent, as opposed to just hearing. They got to see it. They got
Yeah.
to know, oh, this is a big deal. It's not just about dressing the baby up
Mm-hmm.
and pretty clothes and taking the pictures. It's a lot of responsibility. I want to say this on the record. Like, I don't believe in supplying children with condoms. Condoms cost money,
Mm.
and if you can't afford a condom, then you can't afford a baby, and that means you can't afford to have sex.
Amen.
And I mean that I stand for. I would not throw it. Like, if my son or daughter had condoms in their room, I wouldn't get rid of them or be mad because they being responsible. I'm not supplying them though.
Yeah.
I'm not supplying them because next thing after I'm gonna be supplying some diapers, then I'm gonna be supplying other stuff, and I'm not doing that. I had to pay for diapers for 6 years straight,
Oh,
nonstop.
listen, you diaper out.
No, not one baby was out of diapers before the next baby came. So for 6 years straight, I'm not buying another diaper for nobody, not even my own children. They could get other stuff. I'm not buying no more diapers for the rest of my life. Mm-mm. Find somebody
Listen,
else to do it.
and you know what? I think that that's the one of the luxuries of having multiple kids, because you get a wide range of experience and different things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got one daughter, so, or one child. So for me, I don't have a wide range of emotions when it comes to like how would I, other than, the thing about like educate, making sure my daughter is educated about childbirth and pregnancy, and all of those things that we all, of course, would do for our children. But I don't have that wide range of emotion because I'm like, well, dog, I got 4 years, so when she grown and get pregnant, I guess her and the baby gonna live with me, or like that is in my mind, like what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, like I'm gonna be able to be a grandma, and I want my grandbaby to come and live with me, and I want to buy Pampers, and I want to be, like I want to do all the things that obviously, and when I share my own birth story, people will hear, but I didn't get to do those things the first like 3, 4, 5 months. Like I was damn near disabled, so I couldn't really do all of those things. So for me, I do look forward to that opportunity to be able to do it. Not too soon though, not no time soon, but for me, I look forward to it. But that's the, like I said, but that's the luxury of having multiple children and having all of the experiences that you've had, because now you have like a better view of like, okay, I did all that. Give me some extra time before I got to be showing up for another baby.
Yes. Yeah. My mom, I remember, because it wasn't that she was in rush for me to have a kid, but I didn't even have a boyfriend. So it's like, if you don't have a boyfriend, when the kid gonna come?
Right.
So she was like, she had baby fever like since I was in college, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, ma'am. And so she didn't want 4 grandbabies. That was a surprise.
Oh wow.
And it's just one thing that's so crazy. I don't know if you can imagine because you only have one, but it's like, just because all of them were a surprise, like they are so different. It's mind blowing how different they are. No matter what they have, that's the same. They're so different from each other, and I just couldn't imagine a life without any of them. Like they provide certain things for me differently. Like they're and so even Amore, the last one, like when I say Amore is the most affectionate out of all of them, like Amore tell you I love you a million times a day, and she's 5. My other kids, I just was in Miami. They didn't call me the whole weekend. Like they wasn't there. And when I showed back up Monday morning, they was like, "Okay, mommy, let's go to school." Like it wasn't no big hug. It wasn't no like welcome back. Like my kids are a little bit self-sufficient in that way, but they each provide certain things that I couldn't imagine life without them. Now I don't want to imagine what another baby might bring. I just gotta know. The shop is closed. And even to say I told my oldest son, I said, if you want me to be helping you, you're gonna have to wait till you like almost 30 before you have a baby. I'm just letting you know right now, because the more I gotta get out of this house, and I gotta have at least 2 years to myself before I be thinking about taking care of any children.
I hear, listen, set those boundaries, right? Because so they know, right? So when we talk about expectation and those types of things, like when we talking to them 20, 30 years from now, they already have an expectation of what they want and how they want things to be done. And that's the whole point. Even about creating legacy, it's about setting that example. It's about putting things in place, including conversation, including education, including, all of these things matter when we talk about creating a legacy. So like, I think you're doing an amazing job. Like I always just, you're so open, so candid. And I know you're the same way with your kids. So, I know that that legacy is already in place. So the last question I have before we start to wrap up is, what is one piece of advice that you would give a Black mama embarking on this journey of pregnancy and childbirth?
So you know what I want to say? When I first got pregnant, because of all of the pregnancies that came, I didn't get a chance to really enjoy the milestones for my beginning kids, because it's like when one was turning 1, I was pregnant with the next. So the first walk, all of that stuff felt rushed.
Yeah.
So when I remember, I told you I slipped after my maternity shoot. I had like a really fancy boudoir. That's the picture that we use for advertising this. Like I got my makeup done. I took maternity shoots for the other babies, but this one was about me. It wasn't, my husband wasn't even a part of this baby shoot. I went to a hotel, hired a photographer, like did all of that. I even got some like nude pictures that I'm gonna hang up in my wall when I buy my big fancy house. In my closet, I already got a space. It's gonna be in my closet where nobody can see but me. But so my advice though, what I decided to do when I had Amore is to cherish every single, like, don't rush anything. Like, really be intentional, slow, let time slow down. I wasn't in a rush to be done with the pregnancy because I knew I wasn't gonna never be pregnant again. I
Mm,
I really made sure to like enjoy the safety of her in my belly. I was stressed out about all these different things. And even now, my oldest is about to be 11 next month, and I'm a blink and he's gonna be 18. Like, he's more than halfway to adulthood. And it's like it don't feel like I've been a mom for 11 years. The time passes by so fast. So my advice, if you're a first time mom, even if you're not a first time mom, you never know if this is your last pregnancy. You never know what's going to happen next. But cherish the moment in real time. If you got a craving, eat what you crave. Like, if you like, do just kind of really indulge into it, because, and I mean, be responsible. Don't
yeah.
get diabetes, and
Oh, no.
don't do too much, but really, walk, take
Yeah.
care of yourself and your health, your mental health, right? Journal,
Yep.
study
Journal.
seriously. But find a way to enjoy the experience, and don't let anybody disrupt that peace. Not no partner, not no job, not no social media, not no parents. Because sometimes your parents, what you doing having 4 kids? Like, now my mom didn't say that, but but some people, they project their own stuff onto
Right.
you,
Yep.
and their assumptions, and maybe there's some there. It might be because they have had to babysit for you a lot or whatever,
Yeah.
but they don't really know. Like, my mom, even my mom didn't really know like how I was struggling with certain things. And
Mm,
so you can't allow other people's opinions of what you're going through be more important than the voice in your head. And
right.
then don't let that voice in your head be negative all the time, so that you're not able to really enjoy, because life is short.
Yep.
And so that's my advice, is to enjoy it, and own it, and
Yeah.
let it be yours. Allow the support, allow the people to love on you and care for you and give you advice. I'm not saying just don't listen to them, but make sure your voice is louder, and make sure your voice is intentional. That's my advice.
Yes, I love that. I love that because again, it's a total body experience. So it is a lot about taking care of yourself and doing all the physical things, but we don't talk about like the mental side of things, the emotional side of things. And so especially as you talk about, because this is the second time we heard this about the perinatal depression. So, this is something that we don't talk about a lot at all. And so taking care of your mental health, making sure emotionally like you're doing good, like it's so important because it has the potential to weigh on our unborn babies. So thank you, Joy, for sharing all of your experiences and just being super informative, like as it relates to motherhood and you know just being married and having that support system and being able to experience different things in different pregnancies, even emergency situations. Like a lot of those things, again, we don't talk about. So just to hear somebody else speak on it, I'm hoping that, and that's my whole prayer for this whole series, is that somebody can take something away from it. Somebody understands like you're not by yourself. Like, black mamas do this every day. And
Mhm.
so we just don't talk about it, right? Because it's supposedly the norm, but a lot of things are not the norm. So I want you to tell the people where they can find you, how they can participate and celebrate legacy, what you got coming up. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
All right. So my personal brand is More Than Joy. So I have More Than Joy on Facebook, Instagram, but celebratelegacy.net, not .com, but celebratelegacy.net is where you'll have all of the information. You can sign up for my newsletter so you could get direct access to the things I have coming up. I'm actually planning my very first in-person father-daughter dance. It's going to be here in Georgia coming June. I do a pen pal program with kids every summer, so that's going to be coming out. And then I have an annual grief retreat that I have every September. And I'm also newly obsessed with Elf on the Shelf, so look for me during Christmas time because I'm gonna get you right with your Elf on the Shelf,
Oh
so
my
these
God,
kids
girl,
can have
I see
core
y'all
memories.
every year. I see you doing this elf on the shelf, girl. I can never bring myself to do it, child. I can't do it. Listen, but
Listen,
y'all
even
tap
grandmas
in
do it.
because you be
Yeah.
so creative with it, girl. I'm like, girl, my creative juices don't go that far, girl. They don't. But
So I have
it's so
kids.
fun to watch. It
I
is.
have kits, I have prompt packs. So if you want to really write down your story, not only your birth story, but your whole who you are, essence that so you could give to your own children. We don't know, and I hate to be so morbid, but tomorrow's not promised.
You're
It's just
right.
not.
Absolutely.
And we always think we have more time. We always think that we're going to be the ones to be able to teach certain things to our kids, but the only way we can guarantee that is if we write it down.
Yeah.
We don't get, the internet could like mess up, all of these things can happen. What happened if Facebook shut down right now? What you gonna do with all those pictures and
Mhm.
memories and all that stuff that you allow Facebook to have access to? You need to be in control
Yeah.
of your legacy. And so if you need help with writing things down, get you a journal. We got some prompt packs for you to be able to get the juices going. And then I always, like I said, consider me your accountability partner. That's what my
Yes.
business is about, accountability. You can't do it, I'm gonna help you figure out how to get it done. Okay, that's who
Yes.
I am. And I hope you guys have questions. I'll definitely be in the comments looking at what you guys have to ask and to help you in any way I can.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you so much. Seriously, like you were one of the first people to say, I want to share my story. And I knew like this would be like so amazing. So I thank you for being willing. I thank you for being open. And thank you for joining the series too. I also want to put out there this for accountability too. But I really think we should do something like some type of journal, something for pregnant women, specifically for pregnancy. So if you open to it,
Yes,
we'll
Miss
talk offline.
Talia.
So
Yes.
I think that that's something that it dropped in my spirit. So I would really like to do something like that, and we can collaborate on it, and we could just talk about it at a later time. But I'm putting it here so it's out there and it can happen.
Thank
So
you. Thank you for having this. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
yes, ma'am. So we will talk. We'll be in the comments afterwards. Make sure you follow Joy, follow Celebrate Legacy, and absolutely like stay tuned for the next one. We'll be coming back next week with our new episode. So thank you, Joy. We'll talk.
Bye.